Research presentation by James Yeager. Research topics. The aims of this research is to learn more about what makes idle games, clicker games fun and addicting to play, learn a little bit of pixel art for some inspiration research, and learn how to get a leaderboard system working. I've done research on YouTube, on the Construct forums and an article. Inspirational. For my inspirational research, first I play-tested Cookie Clicker. I did this because I needed a general idea about what a clicker game is and the mechanics they include. I found out a lot about Cookie Clicker, such as the progression of the game, the overall art style of it, etc. This means that I can get the general progression of Cookie Clicker into my final piece when I get to the practical stage. I also watched a couple tutorials on pixel art of how to make money. This inspired me to make a sort of capitalism game based around working. I also watched a review of Cookie Clicker to get the general idea of clicker games and the main goal of clicker games. As I said in my project proposal, I'm going to make a mini game so people don't get bored when playing my game. I got the idea of a mini-boss that can be damaged by clicking on random circles that appear on a grid in a certain time frame. This idea came from an aim trainer, where a player can train the hand-eye coordination by clicking on circles. Analytical. For my analytical research, I watched a video called "What Makes Clicker Games Good?", an in-depth analysis that goes into detail about the genre and why it's addicting to play. I did this because I needed a more in-depth analysis of why clicker games are fun and addicting to play, so I can ace the production phase and get an exciting and fun game up and running for people to play. I also watched a deep dive video about idle games, clicker games, but it was a waste of time as it goes over everything that was said in the previous video. As for developer interviews, I messaged the creator of Cookie Clicker asking for an interview, but they never replied, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is. I also made a forum that was sent to around 50 people. I did this to get information on what features people would like to see in clicker games, and things they would like to see removed in clicker games. Only 20 responded, but that's still a decent amount of data. They gave me ideas of what's good and bad about clicker games so I don't make the same mistakes when making mine. Also, when playtesting Cookie Clicker, I analyzed the progression of the shops, etc. upgrades. Technical. For my technical research, I started by reading a tutorial on how to use the Sora leaderboard system. I did this because I would like to have a head start in the knowledge of coding in the leaderboards when it gets to the production stage of the FMP. And I also read about a more custom but more complicated way to make a leaderboard system using MySQL, etc. This will be my plan B as it would take longer, and I have a higher chance of messing it up. I also watched a video on how to make clicker games using Construct again to get a head start in the production phase of the project. I learned that it's quite simple to make a clicker game using the touch functions and lots of variables, etc. Audience. I found out that the intended audience of my project is men from ages 12 plus. The PEGI rating for the project would be PEGI 7 because it will have mild forms of violence in the form of the minigame boss. An interest of the idle game genre would be multitasking, as most players play this game in the background of doing work, school, doing daily tasks, etc. Primary research. For primary research, I asked a few questions to the CEO of Dlala Studios. What I found out was that for online databases for leaderboards, I should look at web solutions, in which I did do that as technical research as a plan B for my leaderboard system. This will help me when it comes to the final piece if the first way of doing the leaderboards doesn't work. There was also a question that was asked about how to gain experience as a programmer after college. And the answer to that was to just make lots of finished games. This is quite useful knowledge to have as I plan to go down the programmer path in the future, as that is my biggest strength. I also attended the VFX festival and a few things was said that I took note of, such as the fact that there are two types of programmers, efficient and mechanical. one being about making efficient code and one making code that feels good mechanically in the game. Next steps. I still need to find out more about the target audience, such as more info on their interests and a potential employer of a HE organization.